Happy Thursday and welcome to the Wolff Den presented by Win Again Academy. Check out winagainacademy.com. Mark Moore doing some great stuff with his coaching and events in the club room. I'm Matt Wolff, founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. Today we welcome Kosha Irby to the Wolff Den. Kosha, welcome. How's everything going?
Everything's going well.
Yeah, great.
Everything is going well.
Great to have you on here. So we connected through Intix, but tell everybody who you are for the people who don't know.
We connected through Intix, and I think I broke up. Tell me the last part of that.
Just introduce yourself. I always like the guests to introduce themselves rather than me read something.
Yeah, so once again, my name is Kosha Irby, Chief Marketing Officer for Professional Bull Riders here. Met Matt through Intix, which is one of the premier ticketing organizations, I think, in North America. Been at this business here for professional bull riding for about 2 years now. Prior to that, I took a stab at professional football with the Alliance of American Football and ran the Memphis team for that. And then prior to that, I was with WWE. I would consider, outside of professional bull riders, one of the best touring organizations in the world. Great at storytelling and bringing visions and over-the-top entertainment to life. And then prior to WWE, I was in college athletics for about 10 years. And so I've basically went from 18 to 22-year-old men and women competing to grown men in tights, lubing themselves up in baby oil to beat the crap out of each other, to now the guys strapping themselves to 2,000-pound bulls trying to hold on for 8 seconds.
Was the tights and beating each other up, was that a football reference or were you talking about wrestling?
In theory, both.
The tights thing is always a good joke in football. It's a really, really wide range. Just a few things that pop into my head. I actually just called this CFL today, and I referenced the tweet. Like yesterday, they did a thanks but no thanks tweet to the XFL, and it was like, I get it. Look, it's tough. It's a tough thing. I think there's a market for that football. I don't know what it is. We've tried to get Patrick Dees from the fan-controlled football on. There's some smaller leagues that have been successful. I know it didn't work out with Memphis. There was a lot of money involved there. So just real quick,
lack thereof.
Yeah.
I think spring football is a viable product. When you think about it and you look at how football is consumed and in general how sports are consumed, if positioned right, which we felt we did, and you can create a substitute. We're not trying to be the NFL. We're just trying to be an entertainment option during the spring. It is a viable product. People need content. People want to be entertained. And I think there was a stat at one point where 80% of the world kind of shut down with sports once the Super Bowl is over, right? And so when you really think about that, you still got a mass market out there that are craving for content, and a lot of them are going to be in spring football, i.e. Alabama, LSU, or those SEC or Big Ten type schools. So there's a viable market for it. We just got to figure out a way to position it, and whoever owns it and runs it is going to have to commit for the long haul. I mean, if you really look at the AAF, and if we didn't have one necessarily rogue investor that took his funding, and if the pandemic didn't hit Vince's XFL, I firmly believe that both of those leagues will still be existing today and we'll still be playing games and going on. It was just a fact that factors outside of our control kind of sealed our fate. But I'm a firm believer that the product is here and the product is still a worthwhile product to invest in.
But to your point, stuff like that happens, whether it's a pandemic or who knows, whatever it is. So you have to have the resources. Part of that is the people like you who are taking a real chance at leaving something to go take a chance on something that might not be there. So that's a tough thing to do. Why not have a G League for football? That's more. It's kind of like that, but
they already have that. It's called college football.
But there's people who want to play in between there. No.
Well, yes and no. I mean, because at the end of the day, when you look at it, majority of professional sports have what it's going to be from high school to professional. Usually you graduate high school and go to professional. Those that are good enough can go and play at a high level in college. And then those that are great can continue to play on a professional level. But majority of the people are going to be done. And they have numerous flag football in other leagues. But I firmly believe that the G League, which is kind of a drafting grounds for football, already exists in college football. Now, to your point, there's not a professional version of that where guys can, once they graduate from school, still try to play and play themselves into the league. And that's kind of the niche we were trying to fill. But once again, it's a niche, and it's a smaller niche that we were trying to fill. We're not trying to go in and take away what collegiate football has built over the last 100 years, or trying to go in and be the NFL. You're just trying to be that gap in the middle, and that gap is still a small gap. You realize you got 22, 26-year-old guys that are going to be in what would consider to be the peak of their career, or in some positions, the tail end of their careers, trying to play themselves into a job. So it's a unique niche, but I wouldn't necessarily say that there are not opportunities. There's just not opportunities for those guys that still need maybe 2 or 3 more years of development post-college, and that's where I think the XFL, AAF, or whatever the league you can think of is going to be able to fill at a high level. That's key, because I mean, there's plenty of amateur football leagues and some of these major markets, but there's very few that can do it at a high level.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't bet against The Rock. That's all I know. Right? A little delay here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet against The Rock. That's my feeling. I think he'll figure out a way to do it. He's got a lot of power. He's got a lot of money. I think those are 2 things that you kind of need, although Vince certainly has both of those. But
once again, when you break it down, though, the mechanics came down to factors outside of Vince's control, factors outside of Charlie's control, and they were trying to start these leagues. Once again, if we didn't have one investor that kind of went rogue, and we didn't have a pandemic, both those leagues were pulling great numbers. They were satisfying every forecast that everybody laid before them. It's just a fact that a global pandemic, which killed a lot of businesses, that's the claim to fame that they held on that long. And then funding is a key part of it. So I think that once again, if you get somebody that has the fortitude to ride it out for 3 to 5 years and take some massive losses in years 1, 2, and 3 potentially, it's a worthwhile project. I really believe that the product is worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of leagues out there and teams and businesses that are not profitable, but they've been able to be sustained. I don't know how. Who knows? Another interesting thing.
Those are called tax shelters.
Yeah. Another interesting thing in the wrestling world, and then we'll get into PBR. But Rolling Loud announced a partnership with WWE yesterday. They're going to do some events during the Rap Music Festival. My friend Rishi, who runs the Four Chord Music Festival, and we were there, he had it's a small festival. He had but Offspring, Simple Plan, you're supposed to have Blink 182. He had wrestling at his thing a couple years ago, and it was a big hit. So I can imagine that having the WWE there is going to be even bigger. It's just interesting the way sports, music, entertainment, they all kind of run together, although you can argue that WE is more entertainment than sports, but it's still a combination of the 2. What's the future of all this stuff? I mean, is there going to be music involved?
Just what you just said, the future of this. The future of this is just what you just said. Like, we're making a bet here at PBR and with Endeavor as a whole that Culture Collision, which is going to be taking rap music and taking wrestling and taking barbecue and taking booze tasting and colliding them into one curated experience, is going to be the wave of live entertainment. It's similar to, when I describe kind of where I'm trying to take our product and our event management and what we're trying to do from an event presentation standpoint. Think about when you're at home sitting on a couch and you're watching programs and you're watching your favorite soap or your favorite sitcom or your favorite sport. But every now and again, you want to go dabble over into another channel to see what's going on over here. You may want to go and log into a video game that you're playing either on your phone or you're playing on your notebook or whatever. But you're looking for opportunities to create and curate an experience unique for you. And I think promoters such as myself, we're going to have to figure out ways to bring that type of mentality to the live event. And you look at Rolling Loud and WWE as a prime example of that. Wrestling and a hip hop concert combined together is going to create a unique experience that a lot of people can't replicate. But a lot of people want to see. And when you start to create more and more of those type of, unique curated experiences, it's going to help the live event business, which is what we need. Because candidly, I don't want to go and sit and just watch the same old thing that I can see all the time. I want to go for a unique experience that nobody else can replicate the way that those two brands can. And that's the evolution of what the live event experience is going to be, what we consider to be culture collisions, and is going to be curating those unique experiences to allow for that to happen.
Yeah, I experienced my first rodeo in San Antonio. I was with LexisNexis, and we had our annual meetings there. I forget the place, but I think it was a pretty famous, almost like bar or hall, and they had a rodeo. So we had a party and we did karaoke on the stage and music, and then we went and saw the rodeo, which was great. I mean, it's a fun, it's fast, it's exciting. You don't know, some people, you don't know if you're rooting for the bull or the rider, right? I mean, it's a great experience, and I agree with what you said about PBR being with the touring way. I mean, the touring is a fantastic way to hit the different markets and have people experience it. So what drew you into PBR, and what are you guys working on?
Well, I mean, it's just like you said. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business, and what drew me to the PBR was the fact that we have the ability to tell our story in multiple markets. A lot of people don't realize that PBR operates in 5 countries around the world, which includes the United States, Australia, Canada, Mexico, and Brazil. We do good business in all of those. We distribute TV, we distribute live events in all of those territories. We have over 500 or so professional bull riders that are all trying to compete to get to the top slot, which is our Unleash the Beast tour, which is the top 35 bull riders in the world. They're all competing for $1 million purse at the end of the year, plus whatever they can earn in event winnings throughout the year. The thing that lured me to this is, it's the same thing that brought me to wrestling. I wasn't necessarily a big fan of wrestling. I mean, I had my favorites. I wasn't necessarily a big fan of the Western lifestyle, but I knew of it. But the business and the business side of this is fascinating for me. And it's one of those things where I saw an opportunity for us to come in and double down on media, double down on the live event experience, try to bring in some more modernized type ticketing platforms that we can use in order to distribute our product elsewhere, create unique events by partnering with other brands and trying to bring other brands to life through the PBR platform. So we just did a deal with the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo the other day, which is an all-black rodeo, but we did that. We produced that rodeo, and then we turned around and aired it on Juneteenth. There's not a lot of people trying to do those type of partnerships in this business, and so we wanted to make sure that we are here. We're trying to be on the forefront, and I just think that we're on the cusp of great days ahead, and I want to be a part of it. And so Sean Gleason, the CEO, kind of sat me down and made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and voila, here I am.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that about diversity and not a lot of minorities in the PBR world, right? So that's something that's great to add it. You think of it as like the Midwestern cowboy types. But some of we see a lot of minorities at the country western dancing here doing line dancing. And so it's really, I think it's bigger than people realize.
Yeah, I mean, but it also is one of those things where I tell people all the time, the cowboy is not, the hat you wear, the truck you drive, or the car you drive, the house you live, or where you live. If you want to wake up and do a hard day's work, help your fellow man out in a time of need, and not afraid to be the first one to walk into what we consider to be a suspect situation just because you're a leader, then you're a cowboy. That's what cowboys do. You think about it. They wake up every day. They're going to go out and ranch or do whatever it is to provide for their family. If they see another person in need, they're the first ones to walk in and lend a helping hand. And theoretically, cowboys were the ones that discovered the West, and they went out into this frontier of the unknown, and they went first. So when you really break it,
yeah, I think you cut off at the end there, but I completely agree on that. And cowboy is like, people are proud. They're proud to be cowboys. They're trailblazers. But one interesting thing about diversity, I want to get your opinion on this. It's not about just bringing minorities to do something. It's more about removing the roadblocks to getting them, because maybe people don't want, maybe minorities don't want to do it. It's just more about allowing them to be on an even level if they want to do it. So we shouldn't always just try and bring minorities into everything. They might not want to do it. but we want to make it more of like an even playing field and remove the roadblocks.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I got flies everywhere here. I'm sitting in a barn at the moment. So it's not necessarily something that you hit it on the head. It's not something that you want to try to force feed people into. You just want to create a platform that's welcoming for everyone. At the end of the day, that's all we're trying to do here. I am not going to sit here and try to go out and heavily recruit one race or one ethnicity or one country of origin or whatnot. I want to go out and create a product that anybody, doesn't matter if you're black, brown, white, doesn't matter if you're cowboy, non-cowboy, it doesn't matter if you're city slicker or a guy that just wants to go do the dude ranch on the weekends. I want to make this a welcoming product for all of those people. And when they come in, they feel entertained, they feel welcomed. And if you do that, if you wake up with that as your mantra, then good things are going to come about from that. But if you wake up and you start trying to be fake, start trying to modernize or sensitize the product, then you're going to flump, because you're going to then just piss off everybody because you're too fake for some and you're too watered down for others. And that's not a place that you want to be as a brand, specifically a touring brand that's trying to lure people into our fold versus saying how can we go out and create this specific message for that specific thing. So for us, we're a community-based sport, right? We thrive on having a community here, a community of riders that represent every possible ethnicity that we can go and find, and a community of fans that can come in and represent every ethnicity that we can go find, and a partnership base around us that can represent or create ancillary opportunities to reach, once again, every other ethnicity that we can go out and find. And if we wake up every day and we keep that as the forefront of our mission, we're going to be fine. But if I wake up and I'm start saying we got to go out and recruit all Hispanic people today, or we got to go out and recruit all this, it's just not going to work, because you're going to start. I think when you try to do that and you do that too much, you end up alienating more people than you're actually recruiting. So it's a fine balance there, and every marketer has a different view on it, but that's mine.
Yeah. I always like to just have this conversation because I think it's important to get all different views. Are you aware of the Rachel Nichols story that broke the other day?
Yeah, Rachel Nichols got pulled off the NBA Finals, right?
Yeah, and she had made a comment about she thought it was, because, and I'm drawing a blank on the name. But anyway, because it's a tough thing, because in some cases it does happen, and that's okay that it happens as long as they're qualified. It's just going to happen. But I can understand her frustration from it too, even just from a reporter. But there's just some things you can't, you get kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always when anytime someone loses anything, you want to find a reason why. It's the competitive nature of the world, not just any specific genre, industry, or whatnot. If I all of a sudden come in and all of a sudden, and now I am the Wolff Den host, and you got somehow either demoted, reallocated, or relocated, whatever term you want to use, you want to understand why, and you want to put a reason as to why that happened. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Rachel Nichols is wrong for trying to seek the why and why she's no longer there. I will say she's wrong in how she articulated that to the public, and that to me is her fault. But if someone comes in and my boss says, "Hey, I'm going to move you over here and slide this person in," I want to understand that why, and then hopefully it's not going to be so I'm trying to check a box or I'm trying to do anything like that. It's just that person at this point in time is just a better fit for that situation, and I hope that that is indeed the case. And my boss or whoever's making that decision made that decision based on the factors that he or she had at that time, and needed to make that decision what's best for the product. So I hope that one day Rachel wakes up and realizes that, hey, at this point in time, she was the best fit for this specific product, and Rachel's going to be the best fit for another product down the line, which I think she's still keeping her main hosting gig and whatnot. So I hate the fact now we're in a point in our society and in our industry where simple decisions of what's best for the product now somehow always tie back to racial, or somehow her being better at that point in time is now tiered to, ESPN feeling pressure to check boxes. I think that's bullcrap. And I think it's wrong to demean someone else's talent and articulate that in that way when that may not even be the case. And now you create that taint. You've tainted her start, right? She can't even have a proper start because you tainted that. So once again, I don't criticize Rachel for being critical of why she lost her slot, but I do criticize a public figure for coming out with a comment like that, specifically to another female, and tainting her start because she feels, and that just sits wrong with me. And I think that's wrong if anybody were to do something like that.
Yeah, it actually got leaked, so she didn't come out with it. It got leaked. It was a private conversation.
Regardless.
I agree with you. It's the how.
Yeah. If you're a reporter, there's no such thing as privacy anymore. Your whole deal is just reporting news. So when news is reported on you, it's par for the course.
You know what the craziest thing that I'll never understand? I get why people might have a private conversation like that and think it's going to be private, but people who put stuff in writing, it's like it's crazy to me to think the stuff that people put in writing. Like, I'll tell you till I'm blue in the face a certain thing, but I will never put that in an email or anything like that. And that doesn't mean that I'm doing it wrong. I'm just saying it's just crazy the stuff that people put in writing. But that's for a different. These people are, and they're celebrities. They're public figures. It's, there's not you signed up for it. There's nothing really private anymore, which is kind of, why the whole Michelle Osaka thing happens, and Mike Trout kind of goes from in the background. But anyway. Let's talk more about PBR. It's touring. Why touring instead of just being in a spot, which is probably much easier logistically and all of that?
Because it's you have enough what I consider to be location-based, event-based tentpole events in the Western lifestyle. When you look at the top rodeos, they're already established. They've been there in this world forever. And what's not happening is that rodeo now that has its tentacles in all of the community can never leave. It can't move, right? When you start looking at Pendleton, you start looking at the San Antonio Stock Show, the Fort Worth Stock Show, or you start to look at Calgary Stampede, they're ingrained in that community. So the niche or the calm water that we can try to go navigate is going to take that rodeo experience, that community experience, to a New York, to a Los Angeles, to an Anaheim, to places that just don't have that. The infrastructure nor have the community to fuel that right now, but they do have it in short spurts. So we can go and turn the Madison Square Garden into a great rodeo destination for 3-4 nights a year in January at our annual buck off the buck off competition that we're going to have, which is sponsored by Monster Energy. If we can convert New York and Madison Square Garden to a great rodeo ground for 3-4 days out of the year, and we do very well there, then that is the niche that we're filling, right? When you start to look at our tours, we're not going into the smaller Western-based towns. We're going into major markets and converting those markets into cowboy towns, at least for 2 to 3, maybe up to 5 nights out of the year. And that for us is the best model for our business. Don't get me wrong, we're going to have some residency programs, and we do that now. I'm sitting literally in Fort Worth, Texas at Cowtown Coliseum, where we are going to start doing year-long programming as part of our partnership. But we still feel that the bread and butter of our product is touring our product to places that have a appetite for it, and we can deliver against that appetite, once or twice a year.
Yeah, Monster Energy all over the place with getting involved in these events and sports and entertainment, doing a great job, I think, with their branding there. We had Kevin Lyman on the Wolff Den. I'm not sure if you know who he is. He was the founder of the Warped Tour, 25 years, arguably the most successful touring thing. And he got burnt out. It was a lot. It's just so much work and logistics, and to try and figure that out. How do you navigate through that?
I mean, you hit it on the head. What starts off as the passion and the drug that keeps you into this touring world is also the thing that burns you out. When I was with WWE, I was on the road 250, 300 nights a year. With this company right now, I'm on the road about 150 to anywhere between 150 and up to 200 nights a year with the business and doing work. But I love the idea of trying to figure out what works in Laredo, Texas, and what's also going to work in Detroit, Michigan. I love the ability for us to go and break new markets and always have that on the forefront of our brain. we just last year we're the only rodeo promotion or a bull riding promotion to do an event on top of an aircraft carrier with the USS Lexington down in Corpus Christi, Texas, and that was a special event we made for TV. Those type of things fuel you because you can always do the next and try to top that last year. And the ability for us to be flexible and move around and just, I hate the permitting process, but I love the permitting process because the permitting process is setting us up to do something unbelievable in a market that we normally wouldn't do something in. So like I said, to your point, you can get burned out because, when you're playing 50, 60, 70 different markets a year, and for us, somewhere around 180 to 250 nights events a year, it can take its toll on you. But for right now, it is actually the fuel that drives me, and I'm going to keep just utilizing it until I get to the other end of that. And I'm pretty sure at that point I may be having a Rachel Nichols moment because some other young Yahoo is going to come in with fresher ideas, and then I'm going to have to sit in the pasture and watch them take the product to the next level. But I welcome the opportunity for that to happen.
Yeah, what I like about the stuff that you talk about and what I've heard is it is that younger, newer voice. I say younger, but newer voice because there's a lot of old, status quo. This is how he's always done it. And I think we need to get rid of that. We need to elevate the people who have these ideas like you. And I've had a ton of them on my show who need to have a bigger platform. And I think something like this is great because when you go and speak at an Intix and give your ideas and talk about, the strategy and the way the way your vision is, I think people could take that and it's all at the top, right? So once we got to start elevating the people so the people at the top either change their opinions or views or move on. And, moving on part takes a lot more time than trying to change their views, but it's hard to get that. Actually, the NCAA did some basketball games on some carriers and the condensation stopped it. So the Gators were playing Georgia. At halftime, they had to call the game. It was really pretty disappointing.
That's why I love dealing with dirt. Water doesn't hurt us.
Yeah. One other thing that I think might help you guys is the mechanical bulls at the bars. I mean, that's a huge entertainment thing. You see it all over the place. I know you guys have one at the Vegas one, but my friend rode one when we were in LA at the I forget where. We're going back. He came off this. He's a short, little, strong guy. He was on there for a while.
Saddle Ranch.
Saddle Ranch. Came out with a welt on his thigh this big.
Yeah, man. It's a real thing. I mean, like, once again, I tell people all the time, you can't fake gravity. Once you fall, you're really falling. And when you're trying to ride this thing and grip and clinch in the right way, it's going to hurt. So one of the things that we are launching, once again, to start talking about the future of the product is we're actually going to launch the world's largest mechanical bull tournament. It's going to culminate with a finals in Las Vegas, and we're going to put up real money for it. We're partnering with a group right now that's going to basically be able to replicate famous rides from yesteryear. They can look at the video, map it, and then have the mechanical bull literally mimic the four-dimensional movement of that bull. And then so when you get on, we're going to say, hey, we're going to do Chris Shriver's little yellow jacket ride from whatever year, hit that button, and that person's going to do it. They're going to take that ride, and then they're going to turn around and get scored. So it's one of those things of trying to take what you just said, those easy front porch opportunities where people say, oh, this is fun, but I am not going to go and climb on a 2,000-pound bull that's trying to kill me. But I will get on this mechanical bull once again out the little liquid courage and take my shot at it. And now we're going to turn it into a professional sport where people can have all the fun, but not necessarily have all the risk. And so that's one of the ways that we have to evolve the product to have more consumer interest in our product. Because here's the thing that we run into with bull riding. You kind of get that with bull riding. You get that a little bit with gymnastics. You get that a little bit like monster truck driving to some degree. Those extreme sports that that require a level of hold my beer, I'm about to go over here and try this type of courage. Yeah. And when you look at basketball and football, theoretically, you've probably played that in your life. You understand the sport. You understand what they're going through. So as a spectator, you can kind of put yourself on the field. It's hard to do that for the average person in the bull because at that point, it's just a spectacle. You're like, holy crap, that is a big animal and that's a small human. And that human is going to try to, conquer that animal. And so if we could create more consumer touch points where people can experience the product but don't necessarily have to take all the risk, I think that is going to grow our fan base a little bit better than trying to just recruit cowboys. Once again, a guy like you, a guy like me, once again, I wasn't raised on a ranch. I've never ridden an animal in my life. So I am a ball cap wearing, Jordan sneaker wearing dude that works in the cowboy world. But at the end of the day, trying to recruit new people is just a protocol. Is this the same thing as trying to get somebody to adopt a shampoo for a specific brand, adopt iPhone versus Samsung, trying to, you know, get you into an NBA game versus getting you to join a kickball league? It's all the same mechanics. You just got a different little mantra behind it.
Yeah, great point. I assume you haven't ridden a bull. You can't just ride
Not
a
happening.
bull like a horse.
Not happening.
How about the mechanical one?
Maybe a mechanical one. I've yet to do that, but you know, you're not going to see me on somebody's blooper reel getting bucked off of a bull in random part USA. Not going to happen.
But I mean, you can't ride a bull like you ride a horse. You have to know what you're doing, right?
Yeah. If you get on thinking that you're riding a horse, you got a long day ahead of you, brother.
People go horseback. I know you need to. You don't just throw people on a bull and see like, hey, do you want to try this? They need to know. Yeah.
They need training. I mean, it's like it's not these guys are just getting on and holding on and saying, all right, open the gate. I mean, so you know, the bulls that we're using are the top 100 or so bulls in the world. These bulls are studied. These guys literally do scouting reports on bulls. They know if the bull's going to come out and torque left, torque right, if it's a jumper, if it's going to lay down, how it's going to dip his head. And then they try to, you know, they're going to try to use their core and their grip and everything to actually go with the momentum of the bull, because part of the score of a bull rider is actually your control on top of a bull. If you get on and just hold on and, you know, flop all over the place, you're not going to be a professional bull rider. You'll be a crazy bull rider, but you will not be a pro.
It's not as glamorous. What was the John Travolta? Was it Staying Alive where he was on? What was the movie?
Probably, yeah. I can't remember either, but I know the reference. I just can't remember the movie.
Walking around on it like it was so easy. What are your thoughts on the running of the bulls now that you know?
I want to do it. So we are, I mean, I'm probably spilling more than we want, but as a company, we're trying to figure out a way to bring that to the States. It's an easy transition, and it's you know, if you get the right bulls, and I know that's a big statement there, it's actually fun. I actually personally, it's on my bucket list to go to Pamplona and do it. I also want to do the Great Tomato Toss. So, I mean, but I'm also into that extreme type stuff. I think it's fun. I've watched it numerous times now, and I'm one of those. I want to do it. I think I'm fast. I don't necessarily have to be faster than the bull. I just got to be faster than that dude behind me, and I think I got a chance.
Yeah. Well, he could get both of you. I don't know. You would rather do the running of the bulls than get on a bull?
Absolutely. I can control my own destiny. Absolutely. If I'm on the running of the bulls, I can get out of the way. Like, I can jump on something. I can move. If you're on the back of a bull, I literally when I get into the shoes, because I was that guy. I'm an athlete. I played college football. I think I can do anything. I feel I'm invincible. I'm that guy. But it wasn't until I got in the back of a pins where the bulls are getting loaded in, and I see the cowboy getting on, and I literally see the bull jump out of the pin and land on the other side. Like once again, this is a 6 to 8 foot pin, jumps flat foot and lands on the other side. When you start to see animals that have that type of power, and you're saying, okay, I'm about to go just sit on it and hold on. Nah, I'm good. Like, I leave that to the pros.
I think there are a lot of stuff, you know, the running the bulls would be interesting. You know, we see the cornhole tournaments on ESPN. I mean, these are things that people are doing in bars or tailgates and all of that. That is, it's compelling in tournament wise.
I told somebody the other day, man. I mean, once again, when you remember when ESPN used to do ESPN Ocho for the day, when they take all these like random sports, you start to look at it now. A lot of those random sports are now becoming mainstream sports when you think about it, right? Because the average Joe can do it. When you start to look at the evolution of the spectacle of sport, it just goes back to what I was just saying about, you know, when you look at like bull riding, gymnastics, and those sports that's just hard for me to gravitate into. I can go play cornhole. I can go play darts. I can go play billiards. I can go bowl. I can spike ball, which is a new thing that's a craze for it. You got four corner volleyball, which is a new thing that, you know, these sports now are going to become tournament-based deals. And when you start looking at the gamification and the ability for us to gamify a lot of these sports, the average Joe now can have action going on, people betting for or against him. That's exciting. That's enticing. And you're going to see a lot. I mean, I just saw a deal the other day where Isos Capital is going to make a major investment in the bowling company. I can't think off the top of my head. But they realize that bowling is going to be one of those sports that's going to be primed for media representation, media growth, gamification, gambling, and they're getting on the front end of that. So when you start to think about that type of stuff, hell yeah, I think it's a no-brainer what people are trying to do.
Yeah, there was a bowling alley in the Rights Union at University of Florida we used to do. I'm surprised. I know there's probably Title IX stuff why they can't have bowling and other sports. It's some of that
NCAA, man. Nobody knows.
Yeah, Ocho came from Dodgeball, the movie. The average Joe.
You can dodge a wrench. You can dodge a ball.
Yeah, I mean Jason Bateman was great. We quote that. I use that all the time. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. I use that GIF all the time. Your background is in college sports. You mentioned that you played. So talk a little bit more about your background. When you were growing up, what you think you wanted to do, and how'd you get it? Decide on athletics? Because I think you were in corporate before then for a little bit, right?
Yeah, I went to Dell Computer Corp. So I went to University of Memphis on a football scholarship. Graduated early. I thought I was going to go to school at one point to be a sports medicine doctor. I realized that blood and surgery was not my thing, so that faded really quick. Plus, that my biology scores were not necessarily the top-notch scores in order to go be a doctor, so that faded fast. But while I was in college, man, I started a business called Kosha Irby Fit Kids Camp, and basically what this was is, as a college athlete, I was coaching like little teams around the country. Around the city of Memphis. And specifically track and field and other sports. Well, I realized at that point that there was money in this. And so what I did was I would go to the track and field, to the soccer, to the tennises, basketball, weightlifting. And I would tell these kids that they can come to a 2-week summer camp at the University of Memphis at My Fit Kids. And then I would go and get my buddy who ran cross country, my buddy who did track, my buddy who did weightlifting, and I would have them coach each one of these cohorts inside of my camps. And I was hosting these camps for like 50 to 200 kids a summer over a 10-day span, and was making decent money. Big problem with this. It is a major NCAA violation for you to use your name and likeness to leverage it for profitable gain. So, of course, I had to then kill it for the summer, but I was hooked. I realized that sports marketing and event management is something that I want to get into. And so I kind of stuck with it. So when I like I said, I was at the University of Memphis, graduated early, ended up going on to get my MBA. Once I graduated with my MBA, I had 4 job opportunities. One was at AutoZone, International Paper, FedEx, and Conference USA. I took Conference USA, which was going to pay me $17,500 annually to take that job, but it was something that I really felt that I wanted to do. And then Conference USA allowed for me to realize that I love sports, but I also realized I wanted to make some money. So I left Conference USA to go work for Dell Computer Corp. And I spent a little bit of time at Dell Computer Corp, but I hated being 25661, which was my employee number at Dell. And I realized that I like the community base. I love what I was doing in the event world. I love the marketing of different sports and to different people at different times. And I just loved it. I love the event-based business. And so left there, going to St. Louis University. And then from St. Louis, moved on to another university, which was University of South Florida, to Georgia State. While at Georgia State, met the people at WWE. They recruited me to go and open up an office in Los Angeles. And so I left there to go to Los Angeles. And then that's kind of when from there to football to now PBR. So that's kind of how the path took me from a little kid, playing football at Memphis and hosting illegal football camps to a guy now running marketing for professional bull riders. Did you?
That's a pretty good journey and a good lesson to say, take the job because you need to get in somewhere.
Yeah, I tell people all the time when I do talks to like classes and whatnot, they tell me what's the best career advice you can have. And I was like, don't take a job because of passion, take a job because of skills. And so for me, it was one of those where I got lucky where I did have some passion in it, but people are like, you're crazy. You're going to get paid that much. You're going to go work. Hell yeah. Because I see a future for it in myself in this field. And so I wanted to make sure that I can build the assets and the skill base to do that. And you got so many people now graduating looking for these niche-based jobs. I only want to work for PR and the MLS. That's it. Nah, brother, go get reps. So, as we like to say in football terms, get as many reps as you can. Like that's what makes champions. Reps makes champions. It's not about, getting yourself aligned with the right school or the right institution. It's just about getting enough reps. And if you get enough reps and you get enough reps at it, you're going to be great at it at some point. But yeah, so for me, it's that way. And if you look at every job I've ever taken, it's always been the path that's not quote unquote programmed for me. I left the NBA and I had 3 nice corporate jobs that I'll probably be in some, executive level at either one of those companies by this point. But no, I took the role as traveling with the Conference USA. But and when I came out of Conference USA, I was supposed to go work for one of the Conference USA schools. That would be the program pattern. No, I wanted to go to the corporate world because I still wanted to see what it was like. So I didn't have a regret. Left the corporate world, made great money at Dell, but I realized I didn't like being 25661. So I went back to college athletics, which going from corporate to quote unquote amateur sports was not the role you're supposed to take. And then from there, when I'm getting ready to peak and take a job as an AD at another school or something, I said, no, I want to go to the touring world with WWE. Left there, and I was sitting really good with WWE and decided, no, I want to go try to start up here with this football league that's trying to do something different. And we get out of the football league and and everybody's like, okay, you're going to go back into sports. No, I'm going to go back to the touring world over here with cowboys and professional bull riding. I'm a firm believer, man, in just trying to create your own experience and try to create opportunity and challenges for yourself, as opposed to just trying to take that coach road that, you go from assistant AD to associate AD to a senior associate AD to athletic director. I just think that, for me, life is a body of experiences, and I want to get as many experiences as I can. I'm pretty sure, when my time is up here with PBR, there's going to be another critical point where I'm going to have to say, do I want to take X or Y? And I'm probably going to choose Z just because that's how my nature is.
Well, I think that's really, really good advice, because a lot of people stay and they stay and they stay until they don't have a choice. It's always better for you to choose your future than to have like your future kind of chosen for you, and now you're
right
out there trying to look. It's much, much easier to do that and to understand that it's exciting when someone wants you. They want you to come to join their team, to be like, hey, this is, we think you can do great things here. Because I find more and more, if you listen to people, and I know I've experienced myself, that the longer you're there, a lot of times the less appreciated you are. There's only a few people who are going to keep climbing that. And then your ideas don't really necessarily matter. So you got to get to the point where, your ideas are going to matter. I have interns now, and I say, look, I want to know what you think. I might not agree with you. I might not do anything you say, but you have the ability, because look, they have good ideas. There's stuff that they know that maybe I don't know. So it's all about finding that right fit for you. And it sounds like you've done a great job so far. So it'd be interesting to see where you take PBR from here. I want to show you something here real quick. I always do this because we got live stuff here, and I'm a memorabilia guy or a collectible guy. Here is this is my favorite wrestler.
Oh, you didn't know? You better tell somebody. Yeah, man.
Who is your favorite wrestler?
Ooh, man, you're not about to get me.
And then
you're not about to get me in this debate, bro. I got friends still in the business. If I mess up on this one, I can lose some privileges. No, I will say this.
What are some of your favorites?
My favorites, it really depends on what you're talking about, right? Because for me, it's kind of like asking me who's my favorite DB in football. And because I can break that down in so many levels, and people hate having this debate because as opposed to just saying, one name, I'm going to sit here and say, okay, based on ring generalship, which means that this guy can control the ring. You're looking at the Triple H's of the world, the Randy Ortons of the world, that can control a match and tell a story unlike anybody else. When you're looking at like showmanship and living the gimmick, you got guys like Cena, you got guys like Ric Flair that just can do anything. When you start talking about the best worker, meaning that you or I can get in the ring and they can make us look professional. You start talking about the Ricks and the Dolph Zigglers and the Kofi Kingstons of the world that can sell anything. And then when you start talking about, just overall flair, the guy that has to do nothing but really truly can get the crowd on his side. You start looking at guys like Ric Flair and Seth Rollins and now You're looking at I'm about to call him Roman Reigns and those type of guys where their look and the mystique that they built over the years now just sells itself. They ooze the gimmick, and so all of those things, each person is just I got a favorite in each one of those genres, and I refuse to then just say that one is my overall favorite because I like each of them for different reasons.
Yeah, we liked it different times. But Billy Gunn was always my favorite. We were always a Val Venus guy. I mean, the entertainers, the people who have a good catchphrase and a thing like that. It's not really a surprise that The Rock was a great entertainer because you see he's a great actor. I think he's a great actor. He's got some movies and some of the stuff he does and the way he delivers it. And so you got to be able to act it, but then you have to have a good shtick, whatever it was. With The Rock and it, know your role, and it doesn't matter what you think. That you got to be able to execute it. So it's not that easy. You can't just throw anyone. Titus O'Neil is a guy who was a
good friend
at UF and went on to do some pretty great things.
But you hit it on the head, though. It's one of those things where everybody calls it, and not everybody has it. Right? It is what something you just can't describe. They just have the package. It's kind of like I tell people all the time is, I don't know if you're a hip hop fan, but there's this rapper. There's a bunch of rappers, but the one rapper I always tell the story about is a guy named Lil Yachty. Lil Yachty is a rapper that nobody, you may or may not have heard of him, but when you look at it, his lyrics are pretty simple, as some people would say. His beats are pretty simple. His look is pretty generic. But when you put the package together, no one else can do it quite like that. It is what makes it is that level of entertainer between performer and star. There are numerous performers out there. There are very few stars, and those stars are the ones that, once again, they ooze the confidence. They live the gimmick. They package everything that they're doing in such a way that nobody else can replicate it. And that is what separates what we consider to be workers and earners in the building, in any industry for that matter.
I think Lil Yachty did a collaboration with Lil Dicky, and Lil Dicky's another one who I put in that category. It's crazy.
Bird. You just can't. And I mean, the dude got a Fox show out of it, and so when you think about it, but to that point, once again, Lil Dicky, all the Lils in the world. Just do it in a way that, Lil Baby, Lil Wayne, and I'll be happy when these guys grow up. And I don't know if they call themselves big ones. At what point do they do the Bow Wow thing where it was Lil Bow Wow and then it becomes like Bow Wow? Anyways, I digress. But
I still call my nephew Lil B, and he's 14 years old now. So.
It is what it is, man. But what I was getting at though is that package for WWE stars, for even in for rodeo, for bull riding, for even in the marketing professional world, corporate world, that's the separator now, man. It's people who I mean, at this point, I remember it used to be, can you put points on the board, right? When you were starting out as a marketer, can you just put points on the board? Now you got to live the gimmick, and you have to be able to represent the brand, and the brand now is culture. And so it takes more than just saying, okay, I'm going to put these cool colors on this piece of paper and make this great flyer. Now does this flyer represent, the emotion of the brand? And do the people that go out every day as ambassadors represent what the brand wants to represent? I mean, look at me right now. And, I'm rocking a color coordinated. I now match my PBR gear to my sneakers. And so that is one of those things where you got to live the brand now and represent it in different ways if you want to succeed in this business.
I think I have a PBR pint glass from Vegas. I think that's
That's
PBR.
always a good thing.
And not to be confused with Pabst Blue Ribbon. I wonder,
No. We did a deal with them years ago, but well before my time.
Yeah, that's like a lower, like the high quality PBR with the rodeo and PBR beer. It's actually very popular, but it's a terrible beer. It's popular for people who want to just have a terrible cheap.
If you're drinking PBR, you're on a mission.
Yeah. Is character and personality a huge part of? Is it important with these riders? I mean, obviously you're into entertainment, but you still got to be. You're in a competition. You got to be good at what you do.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's similar to like what you were running to in golf and tennis. I mean, you got to put points on the board and you got to do it. But if you got the charisma to sell yourself off the pitch or off the arena or off the dirt, you're going to have a lot more opportunities presented to the one that just wants to compete and go back home. That's in any sport. I mean, you look at that in the NBA, you look at that in the NFL, hockey right now, college athletics now with the new NIL rules. And so when you start to think about it, it really truly comes down to, do you have that package? And now you're starting to see people get coached on trying to create that package for themselves, or they're going to have to get outside help to help them become that package. But yeah, if you can represent yourself as a true professional and a winner and a leader on the dirt in our sport, and then can come off and have the charisma to either sell yourself or sell a product, you're going to get more opportunities than other people.
Yeah, how recognizable are the riders? I mean, I don't know. I don't follow it that closely. I mean, I watch a little bit and follow it on ESPN and online.
In the Western world, these guys are legends. But similar to every other sport, if you don't know them, you don't know them. If one of our major guys were to walk up beside you, would you just automatically pick him out? No, probably not. But when you see him in his Shafts cowboy hat strapped to the back of a bull, you recognize who that person is. It's like that with most sports. I mean, when you're in the ecosystem or you're in our world, they're legends, they're gods. If you're not following this every day, you're probably not going to recognize them. The same way, if I were I'm not a golfer. I'm familiar with golf and I know some of the legends in the sport. But if if I were to walk up right now and a pro golfer walks into this building, I wouldn't necessarily recognize him as a golfer. It's just like, hey man, how can I help you scenarios? And that's kind of what our guys do. So, but it's also my job. My job is to try to make them somewhat more mainstream and try to figure out cool ways to, integrate them into their Q scores, for lack of a better term. But yeah, that's the business that we're in. And we're going to try to do something with that here really soon.
Are you guys like golf and tennis where because it's touring, you have to fight to get the participants, or the riders are all PBR riders and they go everywhere?
I broke up, so I have to ask that question again.
In golf and tennis, you have to kind of fight to get people to your event. Are these PBR on the circuit? Are they doing all the events, or you have to kind of?
Our fans are one. So just like any other sport, we have cohorts of different fans. We have diehards that go to every event.
I meant the actual participants, the riders. Are they the same riders at each tour?
Oh, yeah. It's the top 35 riders in the world. It's going to be the same top 35 unless they get bumped down, because we have two tours in theory. We have what is called the Unleash the Beast Tour, top 35 riders in the world. And then we have the Pendleton Whiskey Velocity Tour, which is riders 35 through 70, the next 35. Those 35 in the Velocity Tour trying to take the slots from the top. And so you have relegation going on, promotion relegation going on. And so, but the top 35 riders are typically going to be the same riders throughout, and they are fighting to keep their slots or, once again, chase $1 million at the end of the year.
What's the breakdown from nationality? Is it U.S.? A lot?
We cover. We majority American, but majority of our winners right now from Brazil. The top rider in the world right now, the top two of the three riders are Brazil, U.S. So it's Jose Vitor Lima. You got a guy named Kayike Pacheco, and then you have Captain America, as we call him, is our third, and he's one of those guys that's going to rank in the top.
Besides testicle fortitude, what's the biggest thing a rider needs? Well, if you wanted to be a rider, what do you need? What's the characteristic of a rider that is most important? Obviously, there's strength, agility, all that stuff.
Yeah, strength. Durability is number one, but I think that the number one thing that these guys now grasp, that from yesteryear's Cowboys, is an understanding of the animal and the mechanics that it takes to become a professional bull rider. It is no longer just a hold on and type sport. Literally, these guys are training themselves similar to how a professional athlete trains for an event, to learn the mechanics of how to hold the ropes. There's certain ways to hold the rope. There's certain ways to position your knees. There's certain ways to position your core. There's certain ways to ride the momentum and fight against or what they consider to be going to the hand or away from the hand. And the guys who understand that and are trying to perfect those mechanics are the ones, those students are the ones now that are becoming very wealthy in the sport. And so I think that level of sophistication is what it's taking now to become a pro now. When you look at Jose Vitor Leme and how he prepares for every bull, not just a day, every specific bull is the equivalent of Belichick doing a game plan against the Dolphins or whatever team he's playing. It is actually really impressive to watch him prepare, how he watches film, how he looks at the animal, how he studies the animal, how he makes sure that he understands if it's going to go into his hand or away from his hand. There are a lot of mechanics that go into it. Now, granted, the bull can be a bull at some point and just go do something different. But if you prepare the way that he prepares his body and his mind to take on the animals, it's quite amazing to watch.
Yeah, we had an Olympic
like these flies in this building is amazing to watch right now. It's like
oh man, they can get you right to fly.
Yeah, that is the one downside of being in this business.
Did you ever see the video of the reporter who's all proper, and then the thing comes in and he just starts cursing?
What is? I remember that.
It's one of my favorite videos of all time. We had an Olympic bobsledder on. It sounds like it's kind of not that different when you're studying. Like you can just sit there and study in your mind what this bull is doing, because that's going to be very important for you.
It is. I mean, mental preparation is right now. I would say that in a lot of sports. I mean, it's the Malcolm Gladwell was talking about 10,000 hours. Everybody's getting that now, right? Everybody's getting their 10,000 hours, but those 10,000. But now it's a quality of those 10,000 hours. That's the new separator. It used to be. Kobe Bryant said it best. I wanted to be the best in the world. And I realized to be the best in the world, I had to just play more. I had to get more reps and play more ball. So the average kid was only going to play 2 to 3 hours, maybe 1 to 2 days a week. I realized if I play 2 to 3 hours every day, that by the end of that specific year, I'm going to be that much better than that person. Now you got everybody that's willing to put in that type of work. Okay, great. I'm going to sign my kid up for tutorial lessons and all that type of stuff. But now it's the quality of those 10,000 hours that's going to be the new separator. And so when you look at guys like Jose, you look at Cooper Davis, you look at Kaike, and you look at down that line of at top 35, the difference between them is, don't get me wrong, they have a God-given ability for their physical attributes, but the quality of what they're putting into the product that they're trying to master is the new separator now. And so it's the same thing in the NFL. You look at some of these guys that are niche player or role players and versus the greats. I mean, there's only going to be so many great players, but those guys that are literally going in and they, it's like the Patriot way. They just bring in a guy that's going to fit this role, and that guy's going to get great at doing exactly what it is that they're setting out to do. And that's the difference now. And I hope that, athletes or marketers in that matter now looking at that. I mean, it's the old adage of, I remember people like, oh yeah, I work for 16 hours a day, 5 days straight. Great. Well, you're doing good work.
Yeah. You don't have to work 80 to 100 hours a week to do good stuff.
It's like, it's like, I almost got fired one day. My boss was like, I've been doing this for 30 years and I'll never forget. And I was young when I said this, and I realized where this is one of those Steve, Rock moments, know your role. But I was like, but that doesn't mean it's been right.
No, it's agreed. We've been doing this for 30 years. Okay, well, let's do it differently, and we'll get you for the next 30 years, because you can't. Right. So nothing happens the same way for 60 years. I don't even, and even 20 years, 10 years. It's just, it doesn't happen that way. Everything, the world changes. We don't even know what's going to be going on 5 years from now. So you have to be kind of headed in that direction without even knowing what direction you're going in.
Yeah. You don't want to be the guy that just invested like $3 billion in the yellow pages, the print version.
It happens. What's your bucket list? You talked about going into a bucket list for event. You talked about the bowls. Is there another bucket list event that you would like to participate in?
Participate in or witness?
Witness. Sorry, witness.
For me, I working in this business, I've had the opportunity to be a guest at a lot of events. So I don't. For now, it's going to be a lot of these. Huh?
You have a favorite event?
Oh man, it once again, that's a debate you don't want to go down because it really depends on what we're talking about. I mean, there are a few, watching like Beyonce at Coachella, and watching the Watch the Throne tour, or when I saw watching, been to a few Super Bowls, Wimbledon. I've been to a lot of those type of events. I think though, for me, I've never been to a championship World Cup match. So I think that ranks up there for something I want to do. Randomly enough, I want to now do events in cool locations. So I want to do like an F1 race in Monaco or something like that, like where it's just so over the top that it's just a part of, I like one of the coolest events I've ever seen is the Ironman in Kona, Hawaii. Because of everything that it represents and how the city supports it and everything and it's so just community based. Same thing with Burning Man. That was one of the coolest things. I can never say that if you never had an opportunity, you should try it. But it also ranks up there with Freeze LA because it was one of those times where I just saw how art could be portrayed in such a different way, where I left moved and emotional about it. To SummerSlam, SummerSlam 2008. Like there's just so many different things that play a part in this. Where for me, it's so many of them. I can't just pick one because all of these things make me.
There's so many different emotions and things that make you feel. I agree. My brother is training for his first full Ironman. He's done a couple of halves. First full Ironman in Lake Placid this month. Shameless plug. Our 100th episode is tomorrow. It's all about the Wolff family. My family's going to be on. My brother will be there. We'll probably talk about the Ironman. Really excited.
That's a feat, man.
It's unbelievable to me. We're not going to let you duck we're not going to let you duck the last question that we ask. We ask everyone, you have one person that you can meet, anyone in the world. You have a day to spend with them. They have to be living. You can't be related to them. Who are you picking? What are you guys going to do? I have a list of people. We're going to make it happen. We've done some outreach. It doesn't have to be sports. It could be anyone. We've had Obama and Trump and Vladimir Putin and Oprah Winfrey. I mean, some crazy stuff here. So who would you like to spend the day with, and what would you guys do?
Man, that is all right. Oh, so it's somebody that I don't know. That I've had that question asked numerous ways, but never quite like that. Somebody I haven't met in person. For me, it would be, all right, Jeff Bezos.
Bezos, okay.
Yeah. Because I think and what I would want to do with him is I would want to sit down and with him and hear the pitches for ideas that he's getting now. I wouldn't want to go and jump in the rocket with him and all that type of stuff. I just think that type of guy with that type of money, you got people coming at him with ideas that are so outside of our normal realm of thinking that it allows for him to see the future because he understands that what guys are chasing right now and how they're going to evolve. So for me, I think that would be pretty cool. One of those type of guys that, is an investor and wants to do great things and is going to double down on technology in such a way where he sees what's coming around the corner. So for me, it would be sitting with Jeff Bezos and listening to pitches all day. That would be right now what I would think would be pretty cool.
He's on the list. I think we had Bill Gates and Buffett. Someone might have said Bezos, but anyway, Bezos. Anyway, it's on the list. We're going to try and make it happen. Great to chat with you. Some real great stuff here. Looking forward to seeing what PBR has in store for the future. I think we'll talk about some ideas I have offline, and have a great weekend. Check out our 100th episode of the Wolff Den tomorrow at 11 a.m. The Wolff family. Thanks for being here. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, Kosha.
Cheers, mate. Thank you, brother.